colonies holding off the early timing attack, and then Mutalisk coming out and holding off any medic marine attacks, keeping the medic marines in their base until a science vessel comes out, and then lurkers coming in and holding off all of that until enough tanks are out to move through, and then once that happens, then generally both players are all at their complete late game tech. Anyways, the first science vessel is out. It is floating around, I think, waiting for Irradiate to finish researching, not quite doing it, but those siege tanks being able to take out that first line of lurkers that HoeJJa had. So the first line of lurkers is down, and Leta is going to be able to move out of his base and set up a little bit of position around this map and gain a little bit of map control back. Of course, HoeJJa has had map control for most of this time just because he has had all of these Mutalisks flying around. And it looks like that science vessel ready to irradiate. Nice irradiate on the clump. He also saves his science vessel, but very good split by HoeJJa, being able to take out that irradiated Mutalisks without taking too much damage to the rest of his stacked units. But Leta is still with a pretty big force, I think about 5 tanks and, a control group of medic and marines being able to move out and establish some position in the middle of the map. Also with that second science vessel out, so there was going to be 2 science vessels out to irradiate and detect against any lurkers. Once again, all of those Zerglings dying just instantly as soon as they walk up to those medic and marines. You can see the power of the medic and marine army right there. And actually both players choosing not to engage, HoeJJa backing off after losing all of those Zerglings, and then Leta moving in to try to put some pressure on at this 3 o'clock base. This is the natural expansion for HoeJJa, so there's a pretty good sunken defense and also a line of lurkers, but those lurkers are being pushed back because, of course, the siege tanks outrange them. Siege tanks have the best range in the game, so they outrange everything, but, they're slowly pushing in. Meanwhile, HoeJJa with a counterattack bringing in a huge group of lurkers surrounding all of these bunkers that Leta has in his base. One science vessel out here, but it's only going to be able to irradiate a couple of these, and there's still, it looks like 6 or 7, well, now just 5 lurkers, but critically, one of those bunkers has been able to hold, I don't know how many marines are in it, it looks like at least 2. But still under heavy siege. Only 2 lurkers left, but a couple of Zerglings as well. Those 2 lurkers go down instantaneously, or simultaneously is the word, to those irradiates, along with the medic and marine fire, and Leta is just able to hold that. Meanwhile, he is pushing into the natural expansion of HoeJJa, and he is, there is nothing that HoeJJa has left to defend this except for these 4 lurkers. Those lurkers going down pretty quickly to medic and marines, but that first Defiler's out, and a critically timed Dark Swarm is going to be able to stop this attack. So very nice timing there by HoeJJa. Leta going in and sacrificing his science vessel to put an irradiate on that first Defiler, but that Defiler did his job, put down that Dark Swarm, and he's going to be able to defend his base for a little bit longer. So wow, yikes! Both players going in for very strong attacks at each other's natural expansions, and both being able to defend at the absolute last possible second. Now with another Defiler out, Consume obviously already researched. HoeJJa is being able to push into those tanks that were still putting on the siege to that natural expansion, not actually attacking it, but just hanging out there trying to prevent anything from leaving that base. Finally moving those siege tanks out. And Leta really needs to start thinking about getting a 3rd expansion going. HoeJJa is still on 3 bases, it looks like, but I think he is putting down a 4th base at the 6 o'clock position. That's the natural expansion of the southwest starting position that he has already taken. Nice Defiler, irradiate on that Defiler there, but he loses that science vessel as well, so Leta doing a good job of placing good irradiates, but he is not protecting his science vessels as well as he should. Those science vessels cost a lot of gas, and you really don't want to... It's preferable if you can cast multiple irradiates with them before losing them, obviously. Anyways, these 2 science vessels coming out and plaguing another couple of Defilers, I think, but... both of them getting plagued. Plague coming out for HoeJJa, so he has basically fully upgraded Defilers right now. And it's really going to be a fierce battle from here on out. They have moved on into the late game, so it's going to be tough for either player to gain too much momentum. Right now, Leta transitioning into a little bit of vulture play so that he can place mines all around this map in anticipation of possible Ultralisks in the future. But he's also probably going to be able to use those vultures to do a little bit of economic harassment. And just as I'm saying that, the Ultralisk Cavern is planted, so there will likely be Ultralisks very soon. HoeJJa is on 4 bases right now, especially if he can secure one more base, then he'll be able to pump Ultralisks out of just about every one of his hatcheries if he felt like it. But, obviously he'll also be able to build a lot of Defilers instead of all Ultralisks, which would be a pretty awesome strategy, but not the most effective in the world. Leta's still holding on. He's got forces all around the map. He doesn't have a huge concentrated army, but he does have small groups of Medica Marines combined with some siege tanks to hang around there. Ooh, a double kill going down there. Zergling and a Vulture dying to each other's attacks at the same time. Pretty cool. Oh no, that Hydralisk is coming in trying to snipe off that plagued science vessel, but not quite able to do it. It might do it. Oh no, is being morphed into a lurker. Oh no, but Leta sneaks in just a little too close and gets killed off by that spore colony. So Leta trying to put pressure in those 2 southwest bases, but not quite able to get in. Those Defilers are being able to lay those ground armies just enough. Ooh, huge mine kill. Takes out like 8 Zerglings, but not a huge loss right now for HoeJJa. He can throw away Zerglings like any good Zerg player can. And finally, an armory going up. Not 100% positive where he's going to go with this. Maybe just get some Goliaths because they're a little bit better than Marines against Ultralisks. Well, it's hard to say. Medic and Marine can be pretty strong against Ultralisks just because they're such cheap units and Stimpack will do a lot of damage. But maybe he's just getting that armory up for extra upgrades right now. But it is going to be for mech upgrades, so... still not positive. Anyways, huge group of Scourge coming in on this Science Vessel fleet, and 2, maybe a 3rd one. No, just 2 of those Science Vessels going down. Still pretty rough. A Defense Matrix on that Firebat gets him a couple of extra kills, but not quite enough to move in. A few more, or another Defense Matrix on a Marine trying to distract those Lurkers, but it's still not going to be quite enough to move in against those Lurkers under the Dark Swarm. I don't think Leta has any Firebats left, and no Firebats left in that group, so he's not going to be able to move in and do splash damage. Firebats obviously pretty good under the Dark Swarm just because they have so much splash damage to ground, but Marines are not because the Dark Swarm basically neutralizes all of their attacks. Anyways, it looks like HoeJJa is trying to set up for an attack on this on Leta's natural expansion. There's a lot of mines on this hill. Ooh, Lurker going down as well as a few Zerglings, but critically the Defiler's still alive, but it gets irradiated, so it's not going to be doing much. A couple of Dark Swarms are being placed as its last action before death, but not going to be able to do much against that line of siege tanks as well as other reinforcement that Leta has at his natural expansion. But still, both players, it looks like they're just about now divvying out this map half and half. HoeJJa taking all of the southern positions and Leta taking all of the northern positions. He started in the northeast and has now migrated over into the northwest, getting a couple of bunkers and finally putting down some production over there as well in terms of factories. But HoeJJa is, he started in the southeast and now has taken the southwest and has held it for a pretty long time. So both players very comfortable economically. It looks like HoeJJa is putting up a 5th base, I believe, over in between those 2 starting positions that he's taking. Big plague coming down, getting all of those Medica Marines and one of the science vessels, but there's a huge tank force coming. That's what that armory is for ground upgrades on these tanks. There's a big transition to tanks coming in from Leta. It looks like at the same time HoeJJa might have upgraded drop, and he might be doing a large slow drop eventually. It looked like a lot of overlords moving in unison, which often means drop, not always. But we're going to see if at this juncture where HoeJJa is trying to transition into Ultralisks. If he's going to be able to deal with all of these siege tanks, it looks like at least a whole control group of siege tanks, not to mention large groups of Medica Marines that have been building up slowly over the course of this. And it looks like 2, 4, probably about 12. About 12 siege tanks coming in there. It looks like HoeJJa wanted to break into that northwest position, but being attacked, flanked by a Medic Marine group with some fire bats. A couple Scourge killing off one of those science vessels, but not before it gets some irradiates off. Both players attacking these second bases that they have up. A lot of Darkswarm going down, but not very many attacking units for HoeJJa, but a huge army coming in for Leta, and he's already taken out the natural expansion over here at the southwest. Not sure if he's going to be able to